I'm Arthur Moats, and I'm here to tell you about my new book, The Moats Theory of Life. If you haven't picked up a copy yet, I strongly encourage you to. This book not only is a fun read, but it's a guide to helping you become a person of impact and inspiration. If you are ready to take the next step to improving not only your life, but those around you as well, go get a copy of The Moats Theory of Life, and it's available at moatstheory.com. What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, man?
Man, it's game week. We fresh off the vacay.
Yep.
Shout out to my homie. Just got a big time check. That's why I put the shirt on. Man, it's a great day, man. It's been a great week. It was a great weekend. Not only did my mans get paid, not only did I have a vacay. Yeah. Shout out to my dog, Kevin Harvick. He got another dub.
I saw that
First round of the playoffs, man. So, it's a good time. I get to see you again. I got sex symbol you in the building, too. Taco meat showing,
like
man.
That. It ain't like that.
Looking like a Nacho Bel Grande in here, man. I like it. Extra caliente.
I got nothing for you.
How you been, man? What's good? I feel
I'm good. It was a break for me too. We were talking before we started.
Break from me?
No. Dang, break for me. You know I'm humble a little bit here and there.
No, I'm messing.
Break for me. I went up to camp over Labor Day. Fires, little golf.
Yeah.
Couple beers.
I like it.
So yeah, I'm completely refreshed. I'm ready to go. The season's starting now, so I'm just ready, dude. And it seems over these past however many months, we didn't really know if we were ever going to get here. They canceled the preseason. Man. The training camps are different. Yeah. And in 2 days, we have NFL football.
Crazy to think, man. We are finally here. I was joking with you. I said, man, I feel like we didn't survive the drought. We done walked through these blizzards, and we're finally here. It's game week officially. We're just talking a little bit off mic about like the different things we have scheduled. I'm like, yo, it's really happening. Like, I love it, man. I'm super hype about it, man, because this is what we all love. This is what we all wanted. And now that it's here, I'm more excited about this than I was with the NBA when it returned.
Yeah.
This is just going to be a big thing. And fans or no fans, man, I'm just excited to see what the product looks like once they get it out there, because this is what we all love, man.
I'll be straight up. I think I'm going to have the same sentiment with the NFL that I did with the NBA in terms of watching it on TV. Because in passing, I saw some of the college football games on TV.
Yeah.
And I see how the camera angle is. I'm not seeing any fans. I'm seeing the football field like I would in any other TV broadcast. I'm thinking I'm not going to miss this. Just from a viewing standpoint, TV-wise. If I was at the game, it's obviously going to be different in week 3 or week 4, whenever the Steelers say, hey, we could have fans back, 10,000, 16,000, whatever it is. It's way different than having a full stadium packed. True. But in terms of just watching TV, I don't think I'm going to miss it. I know there's probably going to be other people that will say, oh, I wish I had the fans just to hear that type of stuff. But I really don't think I will. I'm going to enjoy it.
So for me, it's different. So like when I watch basketball, I told you how like I didn't like not having fans there because I only watch basketball from an entertainment standpoint. So I want the ambiance, I want the fans, I want the ebb and flow of the momentum and stuff. With football, for me, like this last year was my first year really watching just games where you're actually watching fans. The only time I would watch football was like on the iPad where it's just strictly
you don't hear anything anyway.
Yeah, you're not seeing the crowd, you're not hearing nothing. You're just strictly just watching from a studying standpoint. So for me, I'm more accustomed to that anyways. So that's why I didn't even have an issue with the college games that were being played with them having no fans, because I'm like, I could turn the broadcast off and just watch this. Yeah. Because that's how I like to watch the games anyways. So for me, man, it doesn't matter, man. I'm good to go. I can't wait, man. I was over here. I'm not going to lie. I got to thinking. I was like, Deke, he said earlier he's going to watch every game. Right now, I'm so hyped. I probably could watch every game, man. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm so hyped right now, man. It's just crazy.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I think it's really doable. I forgot to mention, I think last time you even have the Thursday night games. Yeah. Monday nights. So that's 2 games right there. Okay. And then over the course of Sunday, that should be 3 games. So that's 5 out of however many games it's going to be on a week-to-week basis. It's going to be 16. Yeah. For how many weeks is that going to be? 5, 6 weeks. The others is going to be between maybe 10 and 12. I think it's doable. I think it's really doable.
More power to you, man. I'm not even going to lie to myself. I'm watching Steeler games, and then whoever the Steelers are playing, I'm watching a couple of their games, watching Bills games, of course. And pretty much I'll pick, okay, I want to see Brady this week. Or, all right, I want to see Cam this week. Okay, I want to see this guy that week. And that's kind of how I maneuver through it, man.
Bucs Saints right off the bat.
I know. I like it.
And then your boy Deshaun Watson.
Just got
coming
paid,
off this huge
man.
contract against
Big
Mahomes.
money.
Week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Yeah, words can't express how excited we are.
I mean, shout out to the money that's been getting dished out.
Do we want to start with this? Because there's a lot of news that's been going on over this past week that we've been on vacay and chilling. So I guess we could start off.
Man, we start here in Pittsburgh, man, with my dog, my brother, team captain, Mr. Cam Heyward signed a 4-year, $65.6 million extension, the richest contract for a defender over 30 in NFL history. 30 is the new 20, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all heard it here, man. Shout out to my dog, Cam, man. And it couldn't happen to a better guy. You know, you talk about a guy that's been, you know, a big dog in the community, multiple time Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner here in Pittsburgh. His foundation, everything that he does from an off the field standpoint is huge. And then you look at him on field, and most of the time you talk about a guy getting 30 and people start to talk, oh, he's declining or he's old and all these other things. But with Cam, and like I've said numerous times with guys in that age group, man, these dudes are still playing at a high level. We talk about Joe Hayden. He's another guy playing at a high level. Marquise Pouncey playing at a high level. And with Cam Heyward, he's coming off of multiple All-Pro,
2 All-Pros,
2 first-team
3
All-Pros.
Pro Bowls,
2 first-team All-Pros in a row, and then 3 Pro Bowls in a row. That's huge time productivity right there, man. That's not something that just happens by fluke. That's not, like I said, with the Pro Bowls where it's more of a popularity contest, because we've talked about numerous times Cam does not get the type of love that he should get. We talk about how we saw him dominate Quentin Nelson, and Quentin Nelson is viewed as the best guard in the game, right? People debated between him and Marshall Yonder. He dominated Quentin Nelson, and people still wouldn't even give him the props for that. They would just say, oh, Quentin Nelson had a bad game. Oh, it was an off game for Quentin Nelson. Maybe he's not as good. Like, no. Cam is a beast, man. And Cam is a dude that's been continuing to get better each year, regardless of the scheme, regardless of what they've asked him to do. He continues to be productive, and it's good to see him be compensated, rightfully so.
Yeah, so that was my initial reaction too. I was like, you know, Cam Heyward, great player, Steelers, lock him up long term. Sounds good to me. So I really have no complaints with this deal at all. I think it was good for him and good for the Steelers. But, however, I guess there is a but, because just with his age and everything, is this bad timing, especially with some of the guys that are coming up in the near future, like TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, obviously Juju, James Conner, list goes on and on. Now, I think it's going to be, we're going to have to wait and see with this contract, especially with the details coming out on the contract. Because I was looking, I can't find out when or how much is even guaranteed with this. You know what I mean? So 5 years, this would go into, I think he's going to be 30. He'll be 35 would be the last season of this. And he'll be getting paid like an average of $15 million throughout all these seasons. So $15 million at 35, it just, it makes you question a little bit like, man, is this going to be worthwhile at that point? Because as his game is, I guess, aging, his game is aging like fine wine up to this point.
Absolutely
so
has.
I think for the next 2 or 3 years, for sure, I don't think we're going to see any drop off. I think he's going to be basically what he has been these last couple of years. But I guess at 34, 35, is that going to be something we're regretting? I don't think it's really something we got to be hammering home right now, because let's just celebrate us signing a great player. But with all, I guess it's just something to consider at least. Like, was this the best price? You know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing how I look at it, man. People can always talk about the future, and like you just said, we're not even talking the next 2 seasons. We're talking 3-4 years out. If that's your biggest concern, 3-4 years out, I think we're fine. It's no different. We talk about with the quarterbacks and their contracts, right? Well, this guy's going to be in his 40s by the time this deal is done, and et cetera, and stuff like that. With quarterbacks, we tend to just act like, oh man, it's not an issue at all, man. It's okay. Just go ahead. Defenders can do the same thing, man. We've pointed to numerous guys who've gotten up in age and have still been very productive. We talk about even with Julius Peppers, for example, right? Remember, he was almost 40 and still being a double-digit sack guy. And even when he retired, he was coming off, I think it was a 12-sack season. Like, with guys, man, if you are good enough and you've been healthy and things like that, which Cam has, we talk about Cam's health. It's totally different than Tua, who's missed a lot of time. Cam, I mean, outside of the pec injury, he's been relatively healthy his whole career. There aren't any signs that say, oh, he's going to be slowing down and you should be concerned about it. And you also have to remember, too, 3-4 years from now, that market is going to reset again. It's going to be a whole new wave of guys getting paid again. And that 14, 15 that he could be getting per year, could
It
potentially
might
look
be a
good
bargain
by the time, right?
Because his contract recently, you would say, is a bargain. I think he was getting $10 million a year.
No, he was going to get actually $9 this year.
Yeah.
And you think about $9 compared to you got the guys who are your quote unquote top dogs, your Aaron Donalds, your Fletcher Coxes.
Javon Hargrave just got paid what, $13 million a year?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we know from a productivity standpoint, Hargrave, I mean, we were big fans of him and what he did here in Pittsburgh, but let's be real, Cam was the guy up front. So for me, when I think of that, yeah, I'm not worried at all about the money that he's getting right now. And when we talk about just the other guys who were up to get paid, we understand with TJ Watt, he's going to get his deal regardless. This Cam deal has nothing to do with TJ. That's the reason why Bud Dupree didn't get an extension, is because that money is going for TJ. We know that. But when I say outside of TJ, because Minka, let's be real, Minka, you still have almost 3 years before you even have to consider paying him.
Probably a franchise tag for him, worst case scenario.
But you still got the 5th-year option. It's similar with TJ as well. So even with TJ, you have 2 years. This year, 5th-year options, they already said. And then with Minka, you got 3 years. You have these this year, next year, and then a 5th-year option as well. So you have time with both of those. The guy that really, I guess, dictated if you were going to pay somebody right now would have been Juju.
Yeah.
He would be in that conversation, James Conner. And between Juju, James Conner, and Cam is the far and away more productive player and more impactful and more meaningful. You take Cam off that D-line, you're going to have question marks. You're going to have issues. Those pass rushers, TJ and Bud, they're not going to be able to do what they do. Whereas with Juju, we've already talked about how, man, you look at the receiving room right now between Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, James Washington, you don't necessarily, if Juju wasn't out there, you could still be fine and get away with it. That's not the case with Cam. And even in the running back room with James Conner, we talked about, okay, we're hoping that James could bounce back to what he was beforehand, but even if he can't, you still have multiple guys back there to get the job done in some way, shape, or form. So that's why for me, when I look at Cam getting his deal done, I don't see any negative to it. I'm like, people could just say the age because that's what people say. But other than that, there is no factual information to back up those concerns when it comes to him. So that's why for me, man, I think it's a great situation, a great deal. And I'm glad that they were able to get it done because Cam talked about, I think it was a week ago, where he said, man, it felt like the negotiations had stopped.
Yeah,
and
it was going to be a farewell tour.
yeah, that's what he said. He said, my last ride. And for him to be able to get the deal done, shout out to Kevin Colbert, shout out to Mr. Rooney and Coach Tomlin, them being able to get it done before the season started, which is their, that's deadline that they implement. Yeah, that was huge because after he would have played this season, who knows what his market would have been if he goes out there and has another 10+ sack season, first team All-Pro. Man, that number that we just looked at, that 4 year for 65, that could be even higher depending on what he would have done this upcoming season. So I thought it was good on their part. And once again, man, I just had to throw this out there. I hate negotiations, bro. Why does it have to take this long? I feel like all of us that have been in negotiations with the Steelers and we end up getting a deal done, it always comes down to the last couple of days, the last couple of hours. I just don't get it. Like Cam said, when Cam got to talking, I said, man, I felt you 100% because it was the exact same situation. He's like, yeah, we were talking. It was going good. These guys said, we stopped talking. I'm thinking it's over. Oh, he calls me in. I come in. We get the deal done in a couple hours. It's done. Now I'm here. Still for life. I'm like, dude, I feel you because, yeah, we had the conversation. Thought it wasn't going to work. I was packing my bags ready to leave. He called me to come in, sign the deal. Now we're good. It's crazy. I don't understand why it always happens like that in Pittsburgh, man. You think back now, this deal didn't go as smooth from a long-term standpoint, but Cortez Allen, he's another guy. Remember, he signed his deal the day before the 2014 opener against the Browns. Literally, we're in the hotel on that Saturday night, and he's signing the deal. And we're like, yo, this is nuts. Like, you had all season to get this done. Why wait to this time, man?
I do not remember that one at all, but you were on the team, so that's
that
probably
was my
why.
first shit. That's why I remember
That's why you remember that.
I remember sitting in the hotel, and I'm just like, dude, you literally just like, bro, we got curfew in a couple hours. You signing a contract right now. This is nuts. Like, yeah.
He was going into his last year. He didn't hold out.
Yeah, he was going into his last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I think of it, I'm just like, why does it always got to come down to the end, man? Can't we get this done like a month ago, 2 months ago? Like, you knew when the season ended that you wanted to get him to a deal. So why we wait so long, baby?
The drama, anticipation. I don't know. Now, from just a strictly organizational standpoint, because like I said at the beginning, I just wanted to bring up like a counterpoint to it. But like I said at the beginning, I'm good with it. Cam's a great player, all pro, all that. Steelers, he's been like a staple for the Steelers throughout his whole career. Like I guess you could say the leader of the defense. I don't think that's...
I've been saying that.
Yeah.
Remember, we had that conversation. We didn't have it on air. We was talking about, like, in terms of the leaders of the defense, the guys who are most valuable. And people were saying, well, what about TJ and Minka?
You've definitely said this to me. Yes.
Because TJ and Minka, we talked about, that's like your glamorous pick. Those are the people that you see them when they make a play every time. And you're like, oh, I know that's a sack. It's easy to evaluate. But I've told you, and I've told numerous people, that Cam Heyward is the heart and soul of the defense. TJ Watt doesn't have the success that he has. Bud Dupree doesn't have the success that he has if Cam isn't dominating inside. We've seen you can be elite edge rusher if you don't have anybody moving the pocket, winning up front. Man, that quarterback stepping up, getting rid of the ball, it does not matter. Cam is a monster, especially, like I said, rushing the passer, but even in the run game, we talked about how he is a dominant force. You do not run his way. So when I think of all those things, and he's been doing it for multiple years, before TJ was a superstar, now that TJ's a superstar, before Bud was a double-digit sack guy, now that Bud's double-digit sack guy, Cam has been the one constant through it all. So for me, that's why I've always said that Cam is the heart and soul of the defense. Cam is the leader of the defense. Cam is the reason why everybody else around him can be successful. Devin Bush's job is a lot easier when you're playing behind Cam Heyward, who's dominating it and requiring 2 offensive linemen to take him on. That lets Devin be able to run around and make plays like how he does. So for me, that's why it's never been a big debate in terms of who's more important to the defense, because I'm like, okay, without TJ, I still got Bud. I know Bud can get his thing. I know even if we sub somebody in, they're not going to be to the level of TJ, but you put them next to Cam and they will be fine. When I think of Devin Bush, okay, I know it's not easy in terms of replacing him, but if you were to, having Cam up front is going to make that linebacker's job a lot easier in terms of not having offensive linemen on him right now, killing him and things like that. So that's why for me, it was always Cam in terms of the most important player on that defense.
But in terms of organization, I think what would take this right now, just there's so many ifs, ands, or buts going forward. But if there is some type of flexibility for the Steelers as an organization after 3 years on this deal where rest of it's not guaranteed, or like the cap hits like minimal, only like 2-3 million if you were to cut him, if something was to happen, injuries, like his play did take a dip with age, then I think that would take this from a good to great deal. We just don't know right now because those numbers aren't out.
The details aren't out.
But we'll figure that out in 2 or 3 years, see how everything plays out. I like all the points that you brought up, so I'm completely good with it. I guess I'm just bringing up other sides, maybe concerns we could have about a deal, just things that you would deep dive into, contracts and things to think about.
Put it like this: the same energy you have for a Ben extension that could potentially be happening, that's the energy I have for Cam. It's always a great deal. Just throwing it out there. There is nothing negative about it.
I'm gonna trust you, dude.
Yeah, man. He's been the one, like I said, since he's come in this league, man, he's been who he's been.
100%.
And let's be real about it. We talked about the biggest knock was, he doesn't have the All Pros and Pro Bowls, but we already told you that was because the classification of his position at the time. He's been doing the exact same job, producing the exact same numbers and improving. But prior to, was it 2016 season, he was classified as a defensive end. As a DN, you're not being viewed as a 3-4 DN. They're viewing him as
going up against all the guys that are getting sacks.
The guys who are getting 10 plus sacks. It's a different responsibility. He's a true D tackle, but because of the base 3-4 that we were running, that's when he was classified as a DN. Now that they shifted him and changed his title to D tackle, now you're seeing the accolades. Now you're seeing how his numbers stack up versus other D tackles. I mean, beforehand, they were trying to compare him to like a guy like Carlos Dunlap. Carlos Dunlap was a true 4-3 DN. Like I said, he was more comparable to a guy like Geno Atkins. We can go down the list of interior D linemen. That's who Cam should be compared against. And now that his position classification is D tackle, now you're seeing that. Now you're seeing him get the respect that he deserves and get paid accordingly as well, man. So, yeah, like I said, for me, man, and another thing is this. With D linemen, they typically age very well because of what they're asked to do, what they're required to do from a physical trait standpoint, barring like some massive injury, you don't really lose that. It's not like we're talking about a guy who has to play in space. Typically, when we talk about corners, wide receivers is big because you lose a step from a speed standpoint. That's drastic.
You can make up for it with some wisdom, some savvy veteran play on the line.
But like for a D lineman, I mean, for him, it's 1 step, 2 step, right or left, but it's more hand placement. It's more of the fundamentals, the intricacies of that position, which are never going to go away for him just because of his work ethic. So that's why for me, I'm like, dude, he's going to be fine as long as he stays healthy. That's the biggest thing with interior D lineman. Just got to stay healthy. When you do that, man, he's going to be fine.
Now, one more thing I wanted to bring up, because we mentioned it with Juju and James Conner. Now, you could correct me if I'm wrong, if this is just way too simple. But especially with how we're drafting receivers in some of these skill positions, like I feel like, are we saying that it's just simply easier to replace receivers and running backs, just these skill position players, as opposed to someone on the D line like that? Because I remember even when we drafted Cam Heyward, it took him like 2 or 3 years to finally get that starting spot. Whereas like, dude, are we saying Claypool can't become like one of the main guys right now, right off the bat? We've seen it with Deontay Johnson in the past. Juju's had 900 yards his rookie year. Yeah. Martavis Bryant came out hot his rookie season. So I don't know. In terms of just finding a young guy to make an impact, it seems like it may be of more value to keep the guy who is the staple on the defensive line, because that might be harder to come by as opposed to skill positions on the offense. Am I way out there? Is it too simple like that? I don't know.
No, you're not oversimplifying it. And in some cases, you are right. I do think in Pittsburgh, because of how they draft receivers and how they
if you have a franchise quarterback as well.
Right, it makes it a lot easier. But I'm just saying, like in general, Kevin Colbert has done a really good job of finding wide receiver talent. We've talked about how the guys you named, they're not even all first rounders. These are second, third, fourth rounders that they find, they bring them in. I mean, we talk about AB 6 rounder. Like in Pittsburgh, they've done a great job in terms of finding talent like that. And even at the running back position, they've done a pretty good job. With D-line, with Cam, you got to remember when he came in, that D-line was stacked at the time, man.
I was going to bring that point up too, because you mentioned that position can age a little bit better than others, because I think Kiesel played till he was like 36, 37.
Yeah, Aaron played for a while. Aaron Smith played for a while.
They played till their mid-30s.
And Cam, when Cam came in, remember, I think he had, 2 or 3 years with Kiesel. No, he would have had 2 years with Kiesel because he was here. He was the year before I came here. So he had 2 years with Kiesel. I think he had 1 year with him, maybe a year with Aaron Smith. But all of those guys played, like you said, till they were mid-30s. So when you think about that, it's like that's not far-fetched for a guy like Cam to follow on that same path. Whereas with the receivers, we don't really see too many of those guys aging like that and still being able to be dominant at their position.
I guess in terms of Juju versus Cam Heyward, in terms of age, Juju's going to be in his prime when his next Cam already had that big extension for his prime, but like I said, I think 30 till 33 he should be fine. Like he should still be for
the
sure
next
in his
2
prime.
seasons. He should still be top 5 at his position, which he has been. After that, even if he takes a decline from being top 5 at his position from a league-wide standpoint, we talked about, we just named our quarterbacks and we talked about, man, just these guys are top 10 or top 15 or 15 to 20. If he's still in that range, that's still dominant, because we talked about what it looks like.
If he could provide that leadership, whatever it is, to the defense, it could still be worth it for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, for me, I think he will, just because his work ethic. He's a guy that has never wavered because of the money that he's received. He's still going to be one of the first guys in, last guy to leave. Extremely smart in terms of studying. Sometimes we would get on him because we say you knew too much, and it would make him try to do too much on the field because he's thinking, well, hey, man, I see this formation that's going on, so it has to be this. And it's like, well, look, you can't make that play. That's not your play to make, even though you know it. That's not your play. Like, you have to do this job because it's his play to make for the integrity of the defense. So with Cam, he's just that type of player from a cerebral standpoint. So that's why when I'm looking at all these factors, I think he's going to continue to age well and continue to be very productive. The biggest thing is, like I said, just the injury element of it. You got to stay healthy, and so far he's done a really good job of that.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we could get a Ben contract to go and coincide with the same years as Cam Heyward, keep the leaders on the offense and defense intact.
I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. I know you want Cam. I know you want Ben to play till he's 70. I got you, bro. It's all good, man.
Do we got everything covered with Cam then?
No, man. Another thing with Cam, the team did just name team captains, man. He was named team captain. Shout out to him. Guest of the show, by the way. You know, we got to give him a little love for that.
Yes. Yeah. That is true. That is true. I forgot
So from
about
a defense standpoint, it was Cam and my dog TJ Watt. And then on the offensive end, you had Big Ben and Pouncey. Shout out to them. And then shout out to our boy Dangerfield, man. Special teams captain, man.
That. Who's been I can't even remember. Who's been the special team? Has it been Matakevich?
So it was Tyler Matakevich last year. The year before that was Rosie Nix. And then before Rosie, it was Robert Golden. And then before Robert Golden, it was Sean Sweetson.
Oh, so it switches every year, basically.
Oh, yeah, it's just like offensive defense captain. It's like you vote for it each year. So, I mean, here in Pittsburgh, you're fortunate.
Dangerfield makes sense. I mean, he's been around the system for a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to the captains, you vote every year. And it's just, I mean, here in Pittsburgh, we're fortunate because we have the same players on the team for years on end. Whereas other organizations, you really don't have the guys like, I mean, you look on offense, you got Ben and Pouncey who's been here 10 plus years together. Like, you don't get that other places. Usually it's like, okay, this guy's been here for a while, so he's the captain, but now it's this guy. Okay, now it switches to that guy. Now it switches to that guy. So for us, man, in Pittsburgh, man, it's good to see that type of continuity. And like you said, with a guy like Dangerfield, he's not a new guy to the team. He's been up here for 6-7 plus years now, I think it is, and has been on special teams and been one of the main contributors up there. Part of those guys with Rosie, with Robert Golden, with I don't like calling him Tyler. I call him Dirty Red. That's what we call him, man. Yeah. But when you look at the lineage of guys, he's a part of those same like core groups from the initial start of this thing in 2014. So I think it's a great situation for him. A guy came undrafted, 1AA. Shout out to him, man. So yeah, man, it's a good dude, man. And I thought that was a good move by them, man. So I was good to see that.
Yeah, you can't really argue those captain picks, really.
Absolutely, man. And now I guess talk a little bit of no.
What?
We'll stick to the big money conversations first.
Okay.
And then we'll get to some more of like
there's a
the
couple
moves
more
and stuff like that. So up in Buffalo, Tre'Davious White, man. Yeah.
I didn't see this one.
Yeah, so Tre'Davious, he just signed his deal. This would have been the day before Cam, I think it was. But it was a 4-year, $69 million extension. He's now the highest paid corner in the league.
Wow.
And I felt like it was rightfully so. We talked about
good timing in terms of like he's going to be in his prime.
Oh, man. I think he's
would you say 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years. I think he's 23 right now, man. So this is a great situation for him. We talked about how, I mean, people were obviously Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year, and rightfully so, but Tre'Davious White, he was right in that conversation. Yeah. We talked about from productivity standpoint. We talked about in terms of yards allowed, touchdowns allowed, and he's matching up with number one receivers and following very similar to what Gilmore does. And we talked about all of those different variables and things and how their secondary is really good. Their defense as a whole is really good. We talked about them being top 5, top 3, depending on how you want to debate it. But he is one of the main guys on that defense. He's a staple on that defense. And I thought he got the contract, and it was rightfully so. And I think it was good, too, because you talk about a guy like Tre'Davious who, when he got there, you know, it wasn't a lot of hype around. It wasn't a lot of fanfare, but he produced. And it's not easy to do in the Buffalo market at times because the media doesn't really notice you like that. They don't really talk about you like that. So for him to get that type of deal done and ultimately get the type of notoriety that he has now, being an all-pro and things on that nature, I thought it was really good to see them compensate him the way they should instead of it being a situation like Gilmore. Because remember, Stephon Gilmore was there as well beforehand.
Yeah.
And Gilmore ended up leaving and got his deal like that with New England. So it was good to see them not repeat the same mistake of letting him hit the market and ultimately taking care of him now.
I wonder, that was interesting you brought up the Gilmore deal. I wonder if they let him walk at the time because they felt that no matter what, if we re-sign him or not, I don't think our team is fully there yet. Whereas maybe with White, they're thinking, nah, he's a staple for this defense. We actually have a legitimate shot to be playoff contenders these next, 4 or 5 years. We have that good of a team. So it really is worthwhile to sign him right now, as opposed to if we sign Gilmore, we have all this money wrapped up in him. And are we really going to be going anywhere with Gilmore if we don't have the rest of our team around him correct? That's just a thought. I mean,
well, I was going to say, honestly,
as to why they paid White as opposed to letting Gilmore go.
No, it's two things, man. That thought process, first off, that's more of like the fan thought process. Because like when you're when you're part of the organization, you never are thinking like we don't have enough to win. Like,
I'm talking about management though.
That's what
our management thinking that though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like if you have a like, you don't want to get rid of great young players. When you have highly skilled, highly productive young players, you pay them and you say, look, man, we can figure out pieces to put around him, but this is the guy. You think, I mean, if they knew Gilmore was going to grow into a defensive player of the year, they would let him walk? Like
he was that good with, didn't he make Pro Bowls with Buffalo?
He did. Now, trust me, he got a lot better when he got to New England, and he got more notoriety, which led to him being Defensive Player of the Year. But he was really, really good in Buffalo. He was very productive, but it was different management at the time. Also, remember once he left,
well, that would make sense.
Yeah, once he left, I think it was 2 years later they ended up doing another overhaul of the front office in terms of new GM. Ownership changed. Obviously, the head coach changed as well, and that played into it also. So, I mean, because let's see, Gilmore came, it would have been 13. Yeah, my last year up there was when he came. And then from there, that was under Doug Marrone, and the GM at the time was Doug Whaley. Russ Brandon was the president. Then from there,
was that Tyrod? Was that with Tyrod?
No. That's EJ Manuel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was EJ Manuel. EJ Manuel came in right after Ryan Fitzpatrick left. So then I think it was a year or two after that they switched, and it was
Is that when they brought in Tyrod?
Yeah. So when Rex came, that's when Tyrod came. And then after Rex, then they switched it to McDermott. And when McDermott took over, that's when Brandon Beane became the GM up there. And then from the president's standpoint, it was Pagula, excuse me. The Pagulas, him and his wife, Terry and Kim. And ultimately, that's when a whole new regime changed. But Tre'Davious is a part of that regime with McDermott, Brandon Beane, and all those guys. So that's why I think from a paying standpoint, it was a lot different because they're saying, look, this is our guy we drafted and we're going to take care of him. Where sometimes when you get caught in between the transition of, well, this GM or front office drafted me, now they're not here anymore. Now you got the new group,
different coach, whatever
different
it is.
philosophy, whatever. Yeah. So I think a lot of that kind of went into why Gilmore didn't get the deal that he wanted. Whereas now, because this is all it's very fluid and it's a lot of continuity there with Tre'Davious and the coaching staff and the GMs and stuff like that. I think that's why they were able to get that deal done. So I think that's more of it than them just kind of like wondering if they can win with them or
just
not.
Different management then. Yeah. That would probably make the most sense.
Yeah, and we know with the philosophy, I mean, we've seen, you talk about a team like Jacksonville, they've drafted some really good players, right?
What is it? I saw some, it's not a stat, but a picture of all the roster, the defensive roster from their, was it 17 championship run?
Yeah, when it went to championship.
It's like all gone, right?
Yeah, and these are all guys that they were drafting. So when you think about that, whereas like a team like Pittsburgh, for example, right? The guys that they draft that grow and produce like that, they take care of them. They re-sign them. They make sure that they stay in-house. Whereas with Jacksonville, you just see the difference of philosophies. They're not really bent on retaining those guys' services. We've seen them trade those guys. We've seen them release those guys. It really doesn't matter to them. And they're not like bad players either. We talk about Jalen Ramsey, AJ Bouye, Leonard Fournette, Yannick Ngakoue. We can go down the list of all these players that have been there, dominated there, and they still were just like, nah, we're either not going to pay you or we're going to trade you away. Like, that's not how you win. And they can have that same mentality of kind of what you were saying of, well, we don't have the quarterback, so it really doesn't matter. But you got to think they went to an AFC Championship game with that exact same roster. One bad call away from them being in a Super Bowl. All you have to do is win the Super Bowl one time. Let's be real about it. That changes everything. If Jimmy Garoppolo won the Super Bowl last year, his whole trajectory of his career is drastically different. He misses a throw, we talk about how we talk about him. That's just how it goes. So for me, when you think about that with Jacksonville, it's like it made zero sense for them not to have at least one of those guys still remaining on that roster right now. But that's how they operate, and that's why they haven't been able to have that sustained success of some of these teams.
They're going to be terrible.
Right, where you look at some, like I said, a team like Pittsburgh, where you have sustained success because you're retaining their services. You look at Buffalo now that they've switched, and now they've been able to put together 3 years of success. When you're changing it and you're able to make sure that we're retaining the guys that we're drafting, now you're able to have multiple years together of that instead of just he had one good year and then they kind of fell off. Or, they had one good year, 2 bad years, or 2 bad years. It was kind of good year. It's just 2 up and down. And that's not going to be a mark of a really good and stable franchise.
Yeah. What else we got in terms of moves? Because I got one. We were talking about Fournette, but we want to talk about just money and contracts.
I was going to say Jadeveon Clowney. He's the other one.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that was crazy too, man.
Are they loading
going to your Titans, bro.
Dude, you know what? I was thinking on the way over.
Going to your Titans.
I think I've spent too much negative energy on the Titans, on certain teams. You know what, dude? I'm just not worried about. I'm trying to be more positive and focused on the Steelers and good things. Whatever other teams do, I'm not worried about it until we got to play them.
Okay, all right. Respect. I just figured,
unless I got to make some picks.
Hey, man,
unless you're making me.
You said it was gonna be trash this year. You said they trashed this year, bro. That's what you told me. Jadeveon Clowney said that shouldn't have changed anything, man. So I'm excited to see what they do this year. And it was kind of cool, man, with some of the details that came out. Clowney was slated to go to the Saints initially, and then they had the Ravens as well were slated to get him too. They both tried to do.
I didn't see the Ravens.
Yeah, so they both tried to do sign and trade deals, very similar to what you see in the NBA, right?
Yeah,
essentially, to break it down for people, with the Saints, they were going to do a sign and trade deal with the Browns. So the Browns have more cap space, so the Browns were going to sign Jadeveon Clowney to the $15 million deal, right? The Saints, because they're low on cap space, once the Browns signed him, they would have traded him from the Browns to the Saints. The Saints would have then took on $10 million of that contract because that's what they had available.
Yep.
The Browns would pay the other $5 million, and they would just go that way with it.
They would have got draft picks.
Yeah, they would
have
got a couple picks. Right.
I don't know what it was.
But the NFL, they ultimately said, nah, we're canceling that out. And they did. And the Ravens tried to do a similar thing, and they canceled out. We see it all the time in basketball. You see a guy on draft night, oh, he's drafted by the Timberwolves. All right, but now he's traded over here, sign and trade type deal. It's common practice in other sports, but in NFL, it's not really evolved to that level just yet. We saw Brock Osweiler did it when he left Houston to go to Cleveland. But other than that, we don't really see that happen a lot.
Why'd they nix it then?
I don't know, man.
If it's happened in the past, like you said with Osweiler, I don't know why in this scenario they wouldn't allow it to happen.
Because, in theory, it makes sense in terms of what they're trying to do. The Browns, because they have the money on paper, they just sign them to the extension. Then when you trade them, now it's between the teams saying, okay, how much of that other contract do you want to take on? As long as the money's getting paid out and everybody's in compliance from a salary cap standpoint, you're good. But I guess from a purity standpoint, you can make the case that, well, that's kind of cheating the salary cap system if you can get those type of deals with a team where you might just have a relationship with, from a management standpoint, hey, we're cool. You pay them 20 mil. I'm only going to pay that 10 mil of that 20 that you paid them, and then we good to go. I give you 2 draft picks. Sound good? In theory, it kind of fudges it a little bit.
It is a win-win for both sides, though.
It is.
The Browns wouldn't have those draft picks anyway.
Well, this is the thing. It's a win for both of the teams, but from a salary cap standpoint, it is kind of cheating the system because now you're not having to comply in a traditional sense. Traditionally, if you only have $5 million available, you can't get a guy that's getting $15 million.
Where Clowney is still getting his full amount.
Right.
But the team that's getting him doesn't have to pay that full amount.
So in theory, you are cheating the system, man. Like they do it in the NBA, and the NBA is the NBA. We talk about how, even from a contract standpoint, it's just different in terms of the guarantees and how it's viewed. But yeah, it's cheating the system, baby. It definitely is, man.
Why did it happen that one time? It was just because it was Osweiler.
I'm not sure because
and this is Clowney.
Because you know what, Osweiler, nobody wanted him for a while. Then when they signed the deal, it was like, well, we don't want him with this contract. You take it. It was like, all right, we'll take him, but you give us the draft picks, and I'll pay this much of the contract. You pay that much. Maybe
it's because he was already signed. You know what I mean? He was already signed with the Texans.
Because the Texans, they signed him initially, and then from there, but it was all in the same. Well, you're right, because this would be, he wouldn't even spend a day in Cleveland.
Exactly.
Whereas with Osweiler, he at least spent, I forgot how long he was in Houston, maybe a month tops.
No, didn't he play? He played.
No,
he played.
No.
Yeah, he played.
I thought they signed him beforehand.
Nah, he played in the Patriots AFC Championship game the one time. It might have been a divisional game, but they went up to
Houston. Houston. Osweiler did not lead them to the AFC Championship game.
It might have been divisional. It was up in New England.
Okay, I was about to say, I know he didn't do that.
No, they definitely made the playoffs, but I think the score was like tied 14-14 going into half. There was a little bit of a chance, but then they blew it in the second half, and Patriots won by 2 scores.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, I swear he played at least one season, but after that season was when they were like, all right, we're done with him.
Yeah, well then, that's not even a sign and trade. Then that's totally different.
Yeah. But it's along the same philosophy. But from a contract
standpoint, though, the Browns took on some of this contract. The Texans took on the other half of it. Or however they split it up. I'm not really sure the details of it. But ultimately, that's how that whole thing played out. And they were good.
That's at least why it's different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, whereas with Clowney, he would have never even spent the day in Cleveland. It would have just been the paperwork of, all right, you sign him, now you trade him.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it is technically... it's
smart, but it's
not against the rules. It's kind of just like just fudging it a little bit.
But if the Osweiler case was the only case where something similar happened, it's not the same because we just laid it out there. Osweiler was already on the Texans for a year, and they just didn't want him anymore.
Yeah.
That's more or less. I see that more or less as a trade.
Yeah, because I'm like, if that does start happening though, the sign and trade element, man, that opens up a whole another can of worms, man.
Yeah. Definitely.
For better or worse.
Yeah, right. One way or another. It's just got to be consistent then.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
What else we got?
Who else got contracts? We had Deshaun Watson. We talked about. I like how they put it. If outside of Mahomes, this would have been the biggest deal in NFL history.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, what is he getting? 39 or 40 a year?
I like how you got it, but it's like it's technically still not because you got Mahomes. So I don't want to hear this outside of Mahomes thing. It's not the highest paid contract, baby. It's Mahomes.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah, man.
But what do you think? That's about right, I guess. Just with what's going to be happening with the quarterbacks coming up, I think a little overpaid, But that's the Texans' decision. He's going to be their franchise guy. You got to figure that out for yourself. But
and we talked about how when you're the next guy up, you're able to sometimes get a little bit more money out of it like that. And obviously with Mahomes setting the deal the way he did from a record-breaking standpoint both years and from a per-year standpoint, Deshaun had his cases in terms of, well, look, man, I've led this team to multiple division championships. We've been in the playoffs, played in the divisional round last year. So when you look at all those things, he has his case and stuff like that. He's won in the playoffs. It's not like he doesn't have a playoff win at all. So all those things factored into it. So yeah, and he's homegrown in Houston, man. They love him down there. You got to roll with it, man. You got to pay the quarterback, man.
No, definitely. No, I was reading some stuff. It was interesting between him and Dak. Like, what does this mean for Dak's next contract and everything? So, like, in my scenario, and we've talked about this with Dak, like, Deshaun Watson, if he's getting paid 39, I think he should be really getting paid around 35, 34. But if Dak sees that 40, because Dak has as much as I want to say, I definitely have Dak lower than Watson or even Wentz on QB rankings.
Not Wentz, but I agree with Deshaun.
But so Wentz is.
I'm with you. I go.
Wentz is getting 33. Watson's getting 40. Dak's getting like 31 on the franchise tag, but he's trying to get that 40. Dude, like he definitely has an argument to be getting that 38, 39 now.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm going to put him under Watson, that would be under Watson, a few million under that. But I think the 30, 31, I think that's more in his range. But it is what it is, man. I think he's gonna,
the market, man.
I think he's definitely gonna be gunning for 40 now.
Hey, I would. I tell you that if I saw him get up, I want 40. Yeah,
we'll see what he does.
Or in
this
that
year.
range,
yeah, we'll see what he does this year.
Absolutely,
but
man.
It is weird seeing the philosophies of these two teams. Of Texans, no issues at all. Got Watson's deal done. Dak, it's been like 3 years.
Oh, like pulling teeth over there, man.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what he ends up getting. But that is kind of the range right now, upwards of 30 million for guys that are at least top 15.
Absolutely, man. Any other contract talk?
No, I was gonna say Fournette though.
Yeah, I was ready. I was he's transition to roster moves. I like it.
They're loaded, dude. They're absolutely loaded.
Hey, man.
I heard some comments.
I love it.
I heard some comments. Is this Brady's most talented team? And it is, dude. I looked through it. I mean, you can't make an argument.
Is the biggest issue right now, but his style of play, you make up for that, which he did in New England. Not once. Like the guys in New England, from an offensive line standpoint, got hyped up a lot because of, oh man, Brady's not sacked at all. Brady's this, Brady's that. Brady was getting rid of the ball in 3 seconds or under. You don't have to be great. You don't even have to be good all the way to get that off. So when I think of that, and I'm like, people critique the Bucs offensive line, I'm like, Brady is going to be fine. Trust me, that 2-3 seconds, man. Yeah, you could be a great pass rusher. You hit me with 2 of them 2-3 second passes multiple times. By the time I do drop back for the 5-step, you're gassed. And now it doesn't matter how good you are because you're tired. And now I'm going to be able to make this play. So yeah, man, talented, crazy talented, man.
It's loaded. Not because I was looking back on some of the Patriots teams, and the best one might have been when it was Moss, the 23 touchdowns. They had Dante Stallworth kind of in his prime, even though Stallworth isn't this great receiver, but still, I think he had 700 yards that year. He was definitely a pretty decent receiver. And then you had Wes Welker. Their running back was Lawrence Maroney. They didn't have Gronk yet. Ben Watson was their tight end.
Randy Moss is the only reason why that sounds good. If Randy Moss is not the name of that number one receiver.
Welker was good, man.
If Randy Moss is not that number one receiver, man, stop that, bro.
Yeah, I know.
That's it, when you look
you would say Welker and Edelman are kind of on the same class.
Yeah, I agree. But when you look at what Tampa has, man, with those receivers, with Evans,
it's his best, man.
It's crazy, top to bottom, like they're loaded. And then defensively, they got guys too. They got young talent on defense as well. Whereas I felt like in New England, it was either the defense was really loaded or the offense wasn't, or he had 1 or 2 weapons on offense, but the defense was lacking. Yeah, in Tampa, man, this really is going to be the most complete roster he's had, man. And that's why for me, I'm like, yo, they can really do it. They look good. Now, I wish we could have seen a preseason of it to see like what it looks like, a little sample, but it's all good, man.
I don't want to hear Bruce Arians saying Ronald Jones is our guy right now. Give me
I heard him say that. Listen, he said that after they signed Shady, too. He was like, oh, yeah, man, LaShawn McCoy's on the team, but this is our guy right here. Oh, we traded for Fournette, but this is our guy. You keep lying to yourself, Bruce, because you ain't lying to me, baby. You're not lying to me at all. Leonard Fournette is not coming there to be the backup.
I don't know when it's going to take place, but
it ain't going to take long. Put it like that.
Yeah, I would make a bet at least by like week 6 or 7. Fournette is the guy.
And especially when Fournette, we talk about how we know with Brady, he wants his backs that can catch and stuff.
70 receptions last year.
It was the most productive receiving year for him. He's ready to go.
He's been on a shitty Jacksonville team, at least offensively. I know they went to the AFC Championship when he was there, but that was a shitty offense though.
Yes,
and he carried them for a little bit,
Yeah.
especially against us at least.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I can't remember what happened the next game. I know we were the next game. We were the divisional. Then it was the AFC Championship. I forget what he did in the wild card, but man, he dude, he's a great running back. I got him in my top 10. So dude, that's the roster's loaded. That's just absolutely, really the matter of fact thing right here. It's. I mean, I guess we're probably gonna get into like Super Bowl predictions and stuff next podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, man.
Yeah. So
we gonna get what we gonna get into, man. Don't you rush it.
Yeah,
Just
we got a lot for next podcast too. I'm already looking forward, man.
Heck yeah, baby.
Any other deals? I mean, Earl Thomas isn't signed still.
No, but we did have some other moves in terms of Ryan Fitzpatrick being named the starting quarterback for the Dolphins starting on week 1. Even though they said Tua was having a really good camp, was healthy, looking good and things like that, but they ultimately went with Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick wasn't bad last year.
He wasn't.
He wasn't.
I'm with it. You know what Fitz
top
is?
20 quarterback.
You know
last
what
year?
Fitz is. Fitz gonna light it up and then he'll turn it over. But he gonna light you up first, though.
He really wasn't bad last year. It's just the one game maybe you really need him the most.
He's gonna have one of those games. he will. He's gonna win some games you don't expect, though.
Right.
But then he's gonna have that game where you're like, all right, this is the one, and he's gonna lay an egg.
That is a capability, though. Yeah. Not a lot of quarterbacks necessarily have. Someone that's just gonna go out there and win you a game.
He's gonna win you one of the ones you like, yo, how did this happen? He's gonna do that.
Yeah.
But then he's gonna have the one where you're like, all right, he done 4-5 games in a row, he's looking good, and then it's, oh God, what is this? Yeah.
What'd you think of it? Because it's whatever. I mean,
it's who he is. I love it.
No. I mean, in terms of them picking Fitzpatrick over Tua,
I thought it was smart, man. I thought,
I don't got a problem with it. Whatever. I'm not a Dolphins fan either. I don't really care.
Well, my thing is this: if you rush and put that young quarterback out there before he's ready, and things go bad early, it kills your confidence. We talk about at the NFL level, confidence is key, and we've seen numerous examples of guys who got out there too early, they weren't ready, or they played too much. And ultimately, man, things got bad. And then now it's more mental. It's between the head. We talk about Artie Burns as a prime example. He got out there early. And then from there, man, you could just see once he lost his confidence, it didn't matter how great of an athlete he is, because I could tell you firsthand, he was one of the best athletes on the team, offense and defense, while he was in Pittsburgh. But he didn't have any confidence. And once the confidence is gone, it doesn't matter. You're second guessing everything as soon as something goes wrong, even if it's not your responsibility that it went wrong. He's still hanging his head. That's what you can't have. So I think, man, them protecting Tua from that is really good. When Tua is ready to start, whether it's week 5, whether it's week 10, wherever it may be during the season, then it would be good. But to throw him out there early, and especially in an all season where you didn't even have a preseason game to get him prepared for, to let him at least see what it's like, you don't want to just throw him out there like that. That's why we both were surprised a little bit with Joe Burrow and Andy Dalton in terms of like why they just got rid of Andy Dalton. I was going to say, though,
I think it makes a lot more sense for the Bengals to be doing that as opposed to the Dolphins, because in the Bengals scenario, you have Dalton, who was their guy for how long? Whereas like Fitzpatrick, he even knows this.
We already said it. You're right.
I'm a journeyman. I'm getting around, and I'm
here to just get the young guy prepared. I'm holding the spot till he's ready.
Whereas like with Dalton, I could definitely see some hard feelings going on there, where they drafted Dalton to be the franchise guy. He's been the franchise guy up to this point.
Has won for them, and
to keep him on the roster as you pick his predecessor. Like, that wouldn't be a good look. That's
but why? Because it's a quarterback. You don't say that when it comes to linebackers. You don't say that when it comes to running backs. We're not saying that with Chase Claypool when we know for a fact what he's drafted for. We didn't say that when Martavis made the comment about Juju when Juju got drafted. It's all good when it's every position but quarterback. When it's quarterback, oh, no, man, that's not a nice. Oh, you're hurting his feelings. Oh, man, you can't do that. It's going to be some animosity. I don't want to hear that. I don't. Every other position is completely acceptable. Shoot, the Steelers just brought back Sean Davis. We know Sean Davis was a starter here. He wouldn't be on a team though otherwise. But hear me out though. Once he got hurt, that changed everything, right? Before him being hurt, he was the starter here. And now he's back, and it's like, well, we're not talking about his feelings. It's just like, oh man, hey, you got a job, be happy. Nah, man. I don't care about that quarterback stuff, man. Andy Dalton could have been there and definitely bridged the gap for Joe Burrow, man.
I definitely agree that...
Only when it's quarterbacks, man, we want to cuddle him and cod him. Oh, is it okay, little baby? Oh, no, I don't want to hurt his feelings. Man, we can't bring in that quarterback. That's different, man. It might, it might ruffle some feathers here in Pittsburgh. But I don't want to hear that, man. The best man going to win anyways, right? So it shouldn't matter.
I know you bring up that point. I guess
if he's good enough, he'll be the starter, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to be? If you can't start on your own team, you got bigger issues anyways. I don't want to hear that. That's how I looked at it, man.
I guess it has happened in the past, but with Brady and Garoppolo, obviously this year Rodgers, Jordan Love, but I think I don't know, man. Number one pick quarterback. It's not like you're drafting a guy late and that's a project or anything.
We've seen number one draft picks other positions.
Listen,
man.
I agree with your whole sentiments of like every other position this happens, but I guess quarterback's different. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but
oh my little quarterback baby, are you okay? Is the AC? Is it cold enough for you? I don't want you feeling ruffled at all.
I'm trying to think of another scenario because I'm thinking back to Peyton Manning, but like Peyton Manning's different than Andy Dalton, but like he was hurt and everything. That was
coming off the neck, yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's why the Bengals situation's different than the Dolphins.
Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson.
Still, no. Lamar Jackson was like the last first round pick
though. He was a first round quarterback.
It's different than the number one.
He was still a first round pick though. When you draft somebody in the first round, you're saying that's going to be our guy for the next 5 years, or it's supposed to be at least.
The number one pick, though.
I'm just saying a first round pick is a first round pick.
I think they would have been fine sticking with Flacco for the next 3-4 years if he were to play well. He didn't play well. That's when I was like, all right, let's switch this. Whereas number one pick, it's you're just like, this is our franchise guy.
Who all are the number one quarterbacks that we've seen? RG3, right?
Yeah. What? No. He was number 2.
Yeah, because Luck won that
Andrew
year.
Luck.
Who was? I'm trying.
Cam Newton,
Baker.
Baker. Yeah.
Because Tyrod was there when Baker was there.
Yeah, but Tyrod's different than Dalton, though, too. You know what I mean?
The franchise guy. I'm trying to think. Number one overalls too. Yeah.
If you want, I could look it up.
Because there's numerous first round draft picks.
Are you actually interested in this?
I am.
I could look this up
because I'm thinking of all these guys who went first round, but they weren't. Number one overall though.
I gotta go off airplane mode because my friends have been they've been hitting me up about this damn golf outing they've been wanting to do in here, dude. It's been nonstop all day. I can't do it. Like I'm getting blown up right now. Like no other.
Man, it's all good.
Hold on.
Number one overall picks.
NFL all time.
Number one overall picks.
All right. We had Baker recently.
Was at one. Yeah, like I said, that was Tyrod was there, but Tyrod wasn't a franchise guy.
List of first overall NFL draft picks. Wikipedia. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
We're looking for quarterbacks, correct?
Yeah, just start at 10 and we'll go for the last 10 years. See if
dude, I'm getting blown up with all these texts. I told you this is why I had it in airplane mode, man. I don't want to do this golf outing. All right. Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray. So he stepped in, number one guy.
Yeah, but Kyler Murray didn't have a franchise guy that was in front of him, whether it was Sam Bradford or Josh
But that's
Rosen.
my point as to why the Bengals did that. I don't think there's going to be any other scenario where we see.
Even though, wait a minute now.
Jared Goff.
Because hold on. The Cardinals situation was different too because Sam Bradford was there, got the $20 million. Josh Rosen was the 10th overall pick, slated to be the franchise quarterback there. And then they switched regime. They switched head coach. Remember that? They went from Steve Wilkes, who was the guy who drafted Josh Rosen, to Cliff Kingsbury, who brought Kyler Murray with him.
But that's what I mean. They had to get rid of Rosen. So you're drafting a guy number one overall. You can't having that weird dynamic.
No, but Rosen, remember, they didn't get rid of Rosen initially. They went through OTAs and stuff, and Rosen was fine. I thought Rosen was fine.
No, they traded him to Dolphins pretty quickly.
I thought it was some overlap there.
I don't think.
I thought it was some overlap, man.
I might be wrong. Yeah, we could look, but I didn't
feel like it was overlap where they were definitely in the building together. Because I remember hearing reports where Rosen was like, "Man, I'm good. I'm coming here showing up to work every day, ready to compete." And we all were saying, "Well, hey, look, we know, even though you were the 10th pick a year ago, this guy's number one overall. They're not drafting him to be your backup. They're drafting him to be the guy."
I think they got rid of him that quick. I could be wrong.
But no, it was overlap. But yeah, he didn't make it to the preseason, nothing like that. Yeah,
That's
he was
what I mean.
Before then, yeah.
All right, I think because they were trying to trade him. Jared Goff. We obviously said Baker Mayfield.
I was about to say who was it Bowler maybe?
I don't.
No, it was Foles.
It was Foles, but
Foles was there. Was he the franchise guy though?
No, because I think he already played a year, and that's why they were like, all right, we're done with him.
That's why they drafted. Okay,
they drafted Goff. I think he played his rookie year and he was bad.
Yeah,
like they didn't have a franchise guy there.
Because hold on, because Gurley got drafted before Goff. Yeah, because Gurley was with Foles.
Definitely,
yeah, Gurley was with Foles, and then after that, go okay, all right, next.
Jameis Winston, he started right off the bat.
Who was quarterback in Tampa though?
I don't know, but this is what I mean. Whenever you draft your number one guy, you gotta have him be your guy.
I'm trying to think who was the quarterback in Tampa. I don't think they had a guy. No, you know who it was?
Winston won Rookie of the Year.
Glennon was the quarterback in Tampa.
That's you don't have.
Yeah, he wasn't the guy though.
Andrew Luck, Cam Newton.
Is Dalton really the only franchise quarterback that was there when a team drafted him one overall?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's why they got rid of him. That's
He's
why
the only one though.
Yeah, that's why you got rid of him.
And we don't have any other cases where we can.
Sam Bradford, Cam Newton, Matt Stafford. Dude.
But none of those teams had a franchise. I guess Andy Dalton is just a different person right now.
Because he was
the only one.
He was the Bengals guy for however many years it's been up to this point.
He was definitely the only one. And he was coming off an injury though.
Yeah. That's why you got to get him out.
Well, and I will say this too. It would have been different if Marvin Lewis was still the coach there too. Remember, there's a whole new coaching staff, new regime, so that plays into it also. It's different though, man. Interesting. Because I want to see a scenario where it was like same regime that drafted a guy, played there, established the franchise guy, and then they bring in this new guy. How does that work?
I don't think we're seeing it.
I don't think we ever will. Yeah.
That's why they got rid of him, and that's why the Dolphins still got. Well, then he was and 2 was the 5 pick. We could maybe look like if we wanted
top
we'd
5
have
or
to go
top 10
into
quarterbacks,
real dig deep for this one.
It's different,
because
man.
It'd be like top 5, top 10 picks who should be the franchise quarterback, but still have a guy that that's been there for a decent amount, and either they were hoping he was the franchise guy or he was for maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a whole different can of worms there. Yeah. Do we got anything else with that?
Just from like I said, I think. No. So Fitzpatrick got his starter. Josh Rosen signed with the Bucks to their practice squad.
I did see that.
Yeah, and shout out to this year because of the COVID rules, they're able to have those 7 extra veterans or just guys from whatever amount of years as practice squad players. We saw McCown, Josh McCown or whatever in Philly, 41 years old, practice squad guy. I was like, okay, I like where this is going here.
They're just getting the coaching. Come on.
Well, that's what they said. They said they paying him 12 G's a week during the season, but he doesn't even have to live in Philly. He's staying in, I think it's Houston right now. Yeah, and they say he's just trying to get into the whole coaching element. I was like, oh, nice. Cool. I like it. I mean, you're 41. You got dudes that you could be their dad on your team right now, man. Like, it's legit. Then, let's see. We got Mitch Trubisky got named the starter over Nick Foles. Did not see that, man.
Not surprised. Really?
But same regime, though. Same coaching staff.
See, I'm not surprised just because I think once you go Foles, I don't know if you go back to Trubisky
you can't
like
go
that.
Back. Yeah.
So Trubisky, give him a few weeks, but then you can still go to Foles and then end up going back to Trubisky if Foles didn't work out and say like, all right, is there anything left at the end of the season?
I agree with that.
So give him like 2 or 3 games and there might be a switch.
I just think it's different if it's a different coach out there. If it wasn't the coach who was there when Trubisky first got there.
Right.
If it's a totally new regime and them two are just competing, I think they go Foles because of kind of what you just said. I don't think they're worried about that then. But because this is the guy they drafted, like you said, when it's the first round draft pick, man, they're gonna use every resource, every amount of time. That's all right. Are you sure you don't have anything, just a little bit in there?
You know how things work out too. He probably will prove a lot of us wrong this year. You just know how things work out.
Of course, contract year. You know how this works. And then we'll be reading the reports. Yeah, man, this is the most focused I've ever been. I was in the best shape of my life. I've never been more hungry in my life. I was so ready for this opportunity. That's what we're gonna get.
Like, I'm not expecting better than top 20 quarterback performance, but
3,500 passing.
3,500. Yeah, I could see him being a good game manager for him this year. And
he'll be 35.
Where it's probably a little too overblown how bad he is at this point.
Blake Bortles AFC Championship game, that type of year, the 2017 season.
I don't remember what Bortles did. Like,
he did enough.
Was Bortles bad though? I can't remember.
I think he was just kind of like average. But the thing was the expectation for him because it was a first round draft pick.
Yeah,
we're not having that again. But
yeah. People like those combos.
They did. That sounds all right. But the expectation with Blake Bortles, I think that's why, even though he was never like a terrible quarterback, people viewed him as terrible because of what you expected. With Trubisky, same thing. If Trubisky was a 3rd or 4th round quarterback, we're not talking about Trubisky in a bad vein. We're talking about him as an overachiever.
Yeah, you drafted him before Deshaun Watson and Mahomes. That's
right. That makes it look bad. It's just like, oh, these guys were on the board. You took him. Even though coming out though.
Dude, no, I disagree.
On, man.
I could,
bro. What?
I could see the Mahomes because Mahomes, I think there was so much more uncertainty with him over Deshaun Watson, though. Come on, man.
Deshaun Watson was loaded with talent, bro. He had all the weapons, man.
Trubisky at North Carolina. I just don't want to hear it.
So what were the weapons that Trubisky had compared to the weapons that Deshaun had? I don't know,
but it's one of those things.
Deshaun was loaded with talent. Deshaun offense looked like Tebow in Florida, man.
Here's what I will say. There is an argument against what I'm saying, because you could say the whole thing with whatchamacallit, with Danny Jones and Haskins. It's almost the same thing that I'm saying. Haskins
had all the
was
talent
awesome at a big school, whereas Daniel Jones Duke basketball school.
I'm going to say name Duke's best football player, man.
But I will say Deshaun Watson proved a lot more than Haskins, though, in my opinion.
In the NFL?
No, in college.
I don't think so.
Big time games against Alabama, national champion.
Haskins ain't he ain't ball out either.
Nah, and just in all we seen, I think he only played 1 year, really, right?
He balled out.
He did ball out, but I like that clutch stuff.
He set the record. Did he have 50 touchdowns in college, something like that?
He did, but
yeah. What are we talking about,
you
man?
know, I like those big performances, man, by Deshaun Watson against Alabama. I can't remember didn't Ohio State suck against one of those big teams in the playoffs?
I don't remember. No. Remember they lost on the bad call versus, was it Clemson? It was either Clemson or
Are we talking
LSU.
about this year, though? With Lawrence versus Fields.
No.
Didn't Ohio State get smacked with Haskins?
I don't remember.
That's what I'm not going to try to go down this and act like I know what I'm talking about.
I'm not either. Yeah, but
I do know Watson, big games against Alabama, best defense in college football, all that type of stuff.
We say that every year about Alabama, though.
What do you mean? They are that good. They are that good.
Ever, best defense ever. Can they beat Cleveland? We say that all the time.
They are that good year in and year out.
I'm just saying. You say it all the time.
Those were great performances by Watson. I'm just saying he should have been picked over Trubisky. In college,
man, it's a lot easier for the offenses to thrive. So that's why for me, I'm like, all right, I see Deshaun, but Deshaun was loaded. We know what Deshaun had. Taj Boyd is another one. Think about before Deshaun Watson, Taj Boyd was looking like that too.
Not like Deshaun.
Oh, yes, he was.
Not like
when
Deshaun.
he went head to head, was that Jameis? Was the game with Jameis Winston? I want to say.
I can't remember.
Yeah, bro, but he was loaded with weapons. He had them same type of weapons out there, man.
Boyd wasn't Watson.
bro. He had the same type. When you got them type of weapons, man, I don't want to hear it, man. So that's why they said Trubisky. All right, cool. Hindsight 2020. Obviously, now after the fact, you're like this.
All I'm saying is I said that about Watson beforehand. That's all I'm saying. But I don't remember what I said about Jones and Haskins, so let's forget about that.
You probably said what we all said because I was on the Haskins train. Like, yo, what are you doing?
I wasn't necessarily on the Haskins train, but to pick Jones that high, I was definitely questioning.
Right. When I say Haskins train, that's what I'm saying in terms of when it's Haskins versus Daniel Jones. At the time, it was like, this should be a no-brainer. You go Haskins. But when you look at
I didn't
Daniel
feel confident
Jones,
picking Haskins in the top 15, though, to be honest with you.
Understandable.
But if you were to pick a quarterback, yes.
That was the guy I would have took, right? Yeah. But I think when we talk about the continuity, obviously the Duke connection and things like that and the whole lineage of, oh, yeah, well, this guy has the makings of a Manning type. All right, it makes sense now. I can see it.
Hey, we were wrong. I guess that's just a lesson in, hey, maybe we shouldn't completely overreact to stuff.
I overreact. I like it. I'm an overreactor nowadays.
What else we got, man? Because I feel like we got some more stuff, right?
Yeah, let's see what else. Obviously here in Pittsburgh with some roster moves. They brought back Josh Dobbs, brought back Sean Davis. Duck Hodges didn't make the active roster. They brought him back to practice squad.
He did initially,
yes. And then they said, oh, got my astronaut. He back in the building. Let me get him. You going over here. And then Ryan Switzer. Yeah. Now I think that was another surprise release. A lot of people thought that because of his relationship with Ben, obviously he had the picture where he was like super buff. He looked good. Thought
there were a bunch of reports coming out of camp. Switzer's impressing everyone. So I was surprised with that. We talked a little bit off the mic. I was definitely surprised with that one. But apparently if they brought in this dude McLeod who's going to be
Ray McLeod,
crazy good return specialist. We'll see how good, but I think that was going to be Switzer's role initially. Just like, hey, we got some like a safety returner, who's like, all right, he can have sure hands.
Yes, very true.
Because if you look at receivers, if you're ever going to go 5 wide, because there's definitely 4 receivers above Switzer. If you're ever going to go 5 wide, I'd still put Ebron out there. I'd still probably put James Conner out there.
I would too, yeah.
And how many times are you even going to go 5 wide? So I don't know what his role was going to be from a receiver standpoint.
Because as a punt returner, you're not putting him over Deontay Johnson.
No. But I think the only reason, though, is like if Deontay fumbles something or muffs something, then you want to get Switzer out there. And I know
some of the reports initially, too, were that with Deontay Johnson having a bigger role as a receiver, they didn't want him to be the main returner and being potentially your number 1 or number 2 receiver. Similar to what they were trying to do with Antonio Brown, where they didn't want him returning punts, but at the time, there was just nobody better than him back there. So it's like, you're going to put that guy out there because of what he can do, and it worked out. So with Deontay, I think they're going to take a similar approach with him. And then obviously from a kickoff return standpoint, Switch doesn't do that. And you still have Ray McLeod, who
if they like him, that's the thing. If you like him better than Switzer's returner, that's why
the thing is,
you would keep him over Switzer.
Well, and the thing too, even with Ray, it's still not a guarantee that he's going to be the main returner, because Anthony McFarland, they're going to have him returning as well. But with Ray, he does add more stuff from a special teams element right now than what Ryan Switzer necessarily does in that standpoint. So I think that plays into it as well, man. So, trust management. I was a little surprised also that knowing that you have the 7 additional practice squad spots, that Switzer wasn't one of those guys. Now, it was reports that he didn't want to come back as a practice squad guy.
Really?
I don't know how accurate it is, but they definitely, that was floating around a little bit as well, which I could totally understand. I mean, if you've been a guy that's played and been on active rosters, to go back to practice squad, especially in a year like this year where it's a one-off, because this is not normal. I mean, the normal practice squad rules are you can't have more than 2 credited seasons to make the practice squad. And typically that's how it is.
They got McCullers on there.
Right, because of this year. Yeah, because, I mean, in a normal year, when those veterans are cut, there aren't 7 additional spots like this where you can bring those guys back. That's not how it works. So in this year being a one-off, that's why you're seeing guys like Dan be on the practice squad. Or even a guy like Wendell Smallwood, he's on the practice squad. But with Ryan Switzer, I can understand, like, if you feel like it's disrespectful, you feel like you're above practice squad, because if you played in this league, man, for multiple years, yeah, you know how hard it is to stay on the active roster. You know what it takes. And yeah, to go backwards to be in practice squad, I mean, that's like, hey, you were the store manager, now I'm going to make you just a regular shift manager, or your regular employee right now. You're like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm used to this, not only from a pay standpoint, but from a play standpoint, preparation standpoint. I don't want to go back to that. So that could be playing into it as well. I mean, it's very unique. Like I said, because this is a one-off year. You're not going to see this type of stuff where you're getting veteran guys on practice squads. This is going to be probably the only time we'll ever see this in the next 100 years with football, man.
Yeah, I want to say this too. People that are like ripping on Switzer, like, I just feel like there's too much energy out there to where people were happy that he got cut or fired. Like, that's I can't stand it. Like, dude,
but people do that all the time. I've never been a fan of that.
Like, I don't like that at all. Like, as much as we talked about, like, all right, I don't really think Switzer has a place on the roster, whatever. Yeah. If he was gonna be on the roster, I was good with it. Yeah. If he's not gonna be on the roster, it's like, all right, whatever. Like, I can't stand people that get like over enthused about that stuff. Like, a dude just like lost his job. Like, that's not something you should be happy about.
Imagine if the roles were reversed and you got fired from your job and we all over here celebrate like, yeah, I'm glad you fired, man. Ridiculous. You suck. Go home, man. You trash. No, like, you would be over here on suicide watch. Like, let's be real about it. That's how people are. But that's just, it's the nature of the business. We hate it. Trust me, as players, we always found it funny that the main people that will talk about us being fired or this guy needs to be released, you'll be the same person over there asking for an autograph for a picture if you saw this person. Like, it's not cool. It's not cool at all. But that's why we don't do that, because we set the standard. We gonna do it the right way, baby. You know what I'm saying? Standard. That's what we do.
Yeah, so I guess Switzer, what else? You obviously said Duck Hodges. Yeah. We brought in Dobbs.
I like the Sean Davis return, though, man. I think him coming back is huge, because we talked about from a safety depth standpoint, there wasn't a lot.
That was a good play. Yeah, that was a good play.
Behind Minka and Edmonds, the next best safety was Jordan Dangerfield. And we know from an athletic standpoint, those guys are more polished. They can do a lot more. Obviously, their draft pedigree reflects that, and their productivity does as well. But you bring in a guy, Sean Davis, second-round pick, a guy who started in Pittsburgh for 4 years.
I thought he was going to have such a better trajectory than he was. Well, he started off so hot as
But the problem was this.
Him and Burns.
Yeah, but more so the thing with Artie, we talked about Artie lost his confidence, and that killed him. The problem with SD was this. They moved him around. He starts out that first year playing in the nickel. Then they move him to free safety. Then he plays strong safety. Then he moves back to free. And you think about all the different safeties he played with. He played with, was it Mike Mitchell for, I think it was a year or two, maybe. Then he had Morgan Burnett. Then they brought him in with Troy Edmonds. So he never got the steady piece. We talked about with Edmonds. The reason why we're anticipating Edmonds taking the next leap forward is because he's going to have continuity being back there with Minka for the next year. The second year together, you anticipate him playing a lot better because he's going to be in one position. He's not having a flip-flop. We talked about how he had to go from playing free to, he had to go from playing strong to playing free when Cam Kelly was back there, and how it changes your communication, it changes your assignments and what you're asked to do. Sometimes you need that continuity. And now with SD being back, even though he's still not going to have the same continuity of being with a guy for multiple years, he has the familiarity. We know from an athletic standpoint, he can do a ton of stuff. But for him, it's just more so just being in one position and just getting a chance to develop at that. The guys who we've seen in the past get to just play one position and ultimately learn it and get really good at it, you see their careers continue to take off and excel. The guys who've moved around a little bit early on, sometimes it works out, but a lot of times it stunts their growth and it hurts them from an overall development standpoint because you never get those fundamental years to ultimately build upon that.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, all that stuff that you brought up. Yeah, I'm definitely good with it. I think it definitely makes sense, especially from that safety depth standpoint.
Absolutely. SD, that's my dog, man. He a good dude, man. I'm glad to see that boy back, man. I was mad when he got hurt last year, but it ultimately opened up the door for us to make the trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. But ultimately, man, like, dude, that's my dog, man. That's my dog, man. Glad he back. Glad he back. Glad he back in the building, man. Shout out to SD.
And do we got any other? Is there anything that stuck out to you? Because I did want to ask you about a little bit of the quarterback thing, like what you thought about with the Duck Hodges, Dobbs. Now we have Mason. I don't know, in terms of bringing in Dobbs and then cutting Duck. Do you think it's just like, yo, we have more faith in Dobbs being a better quarterback than Duck here?
No, I think this is the thing. Dobbs doesn't get released last year. You know what I mean? Like we excuse me, let me rephrase that. When Dobbs got released, we talked about
because it's weird.
Right,
this is all weird right now.
But it was more so, okay, when they released Dobbs, at the time, Ben was healthy. You knew Mason was your number 2 guy. So you said, well, look, we knew that Dobbs and Mason were competing for the number 2 spot. All right, we'll go ahead and ship off Dobbs for a draft pick. We got Duck, who would make us the 3rd quarterback. We're not anticipating him playing anyways. You're fine. It just so happened the next week, Ben goes down, and then we're kind of like, dang, man, I wish Dobbs was back, man. If Dobbs would have been back, this kind of changes things up a little bit. You have a little bit more faith in the quarterback room. And obviously, as things progressed and it went from Mason to Duck, then you're like, man, it really could have helped. And now we're talking about Paxton Lynch being out here at times. Like, that's what we were. Whereas now, you know, a year later, it worked out where, okay, Dobbs released. We got an opportunity to bring him back. He's already familiar. He was in this system for multiple years. Same coordinator in Randy Fichtner. Randy Fichtner was the coordinator and the QB's coach for him, so he's already
that happened quick.
Yeah, so so he's already has that continuity. So you bring him back, and it's like, okay, we knew that him and Mason were pushing each other anyways. Even last year when they said that Mason was going to be the number 2 guy, it was still, matter of fact, they never really said it until they just traded him.
Definitely heading into preseason, there was definitely a debate there. I think Mason outplayed him in the preseason, and then obviously, they traded Dobbs, and we kind of got our answer there. But heading in, there was, hey, what do you want more? Because Dobbs definitely brought more versatility to the table, whereas Mason is more the drop back passer, traditional quarterback. I don't know. I just found it interesting how it all happened just like so quick. Like, we still have Duck on the roster, 3rd stringer. All of a sudden they cut Dobbs. We bring in Dobbs, cut Duck. Duck's back on the practice squad. Like, what does it all mean? What does it all mean?
It's literally the exact same of what it was going to be going into last year.
I was thinking that
it's
too.
It's just different narratives. Last year, the whole narrative was who was competing for that number 2 spot. Because remember, the year prior to that, Dobbs had to beat out Landry Jones to be the number 2 quarterback. And then
he did do that.
He did, because people were surprised. They didn't think Landry would be cut because of how many years he was here as Ben's backup. And then you saw Dobbs and Mason compete. The first year, Dobbs beat him out. Then the second year, it was close, but they gave the nod to Mason. So from there, that's why you, like I said, you make the move. But now you're bringing them back and you're saying, hey, I'm a lot more confident when I have Mason and Dobbs as my 2 and 3. Whereas some people weren't as confident in Duck. Some people weren't as confident in Paxton Lynch. So now you feel a lot more confident in terms of those 2 guys, and they're ultimately going to be pushing each other. Whereas with Mason, it could have been a situation where even though Duck is on the roster going into this year, where Mason's not really being pushed by Duck, because with Mason, we said the biggest issue with Mason was just a confidence standpoint.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm hanging my hat on that Jets game. Dude.
Me too.
Like, dude, that was
when he
different
plays
person.
with confidence. When he plays with confidence and believes it, you see the potential is right there. Whereas with Duck didn't have the same abilities as Mason. He just had that confidence where, hey, I'm going to take these chances. I'm going to play, and whatever happens.
There was a tale of 2 ducks, though.
It was, but the problem is when you're not as talented, but you play that kind of just laissez-faire, I'm going to do it, whatever is going to happen type. You're that type of player. it can get really bad at times because you don't have that type of ability. Whereas a guy like Ben, for example, right? Ben has that mentality, but he has elite level talent, so he can make up for it. Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't have the elite talent, but he's still really good. So you can see Ryan Fitzpatrick, we talked about how he gets hot at times and it looks good, but his drop off isn't as bad as Duck's was. But with Duck, he doesn't have the same level of abilities as either one of those guys. And that's why when he plays bad, it looks really bad.
Yeah. I was thinking this because I was going like, all right, who should be the third quarterback?
Yeah.
And one side of me is like, one, before I even get into this, like if we're talking about who should be our third quarterback, and if this conversation has to come up again, we're in trouble. So this should be the last time this is even brought up. You know what I mean? Because like one side of me is thinking like I saw more of a sample size with Duck, at least those 3 games, the Bengals, the Cardinals, and the Browns, where you're like, oh, wow, you know, he played pretty decent in those games. But then it was just awful the other 3 games. Yes. Whereas with Dobbs, we only got to see him in that Raiders game, and I didn't think he played good in that game. Although I do think Dobbs has more upside than Duck. Yeah. So Dobbs being third string now, Duck on the practice. I don't really care. I mean, it's whatever.
Well,
whatever decisions Steelers make, I'm good with.
And I'll say
because we shouldn't be talking about this during the season at all.
I'll say this too, in terms of the knock that Dobbs gets for that Raiders game. The difference between Mason's audition and Duck's audition compared to Dobbs' audition, when Mason got the nod, there was no debate. There was no, we're not, the offense isn't built for you, it's built for Ben, and we're just doing this on the fly. No, they made sure that, hey, we're going to do whatever is best for you, Mason. Then when it shifted to Duck, it was, hey, we're going to do whatever is best for you, Duck. When Dobbs got the nod, it was during game.
It was for a quarter or two, and Ben came back.
Right, so it wasn't even like you had this full week to prepare. We're going to game plan and make this perfect for you. It was, all right, we're kind of in a bond here. We don't know if Ben's coming back. We know he's getting an x-ray right now. Just get us out of this quarter. So that's why I don't even feel it was a proper evaluation. And for the people that look at that game and say, oh, yeah, man, Dobbs looked bad in that Raiders game. He sucks. I'm like, bro, it was a quarter and a half on the fly. Like, and the whole team was playing bad. We talked about that. The whole team was playing bad. You can't hold that against Dobbs. That's not on Dobbs.
No, like I said, I think he has more potential. I didn't like what I saw in the Raiders game, but yeah, it was only a quarter and whatnot. We have more of a sample size with Duck, and I didn't like those last 3 games. So if the Steelers are saying Dobbs over Duck right now at third string, whatever, I'm good with it because I'm not stressing over it.
Absolutely. And the other position battle that I saw was Zach Banner and Chooks Okorafor. Still haven't named a guy yet. They have them both listed as starters on the depth chart right now, man.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
so,
both starters?
They have them both listed as the starter and right tackle right now on the depth chart. They literally.
Where do you go at?
Steelers.com? Yeah. They just released the depth chart a day ago. So, for example, like tight end, they got Ebron and Vance as if they were going to have a 2 tight end set. Okay. But then when you look at every other position, it's just one guy listed and they have the second string guy listed. But with the right tackle, it's literally Zach Banner and Chooks Okorafor. Both up there simultaneously. So, I mean, part of me was like, okay, let's look at this glass half full, meaning they're both having great camps and they're competing and they're both so good, we can't pick a winner. That's the glass half full. The other side is we're going to the game week and one of y'all haven't taken the reins on this position just yet. I'm a little nervous.
I thought it was Chooks. I thought people were saying Chooks.
Nah, I mean, they've been going back and forth, but they just released his depth chart yesterday. Steelers.com, you can check it for yourself. And they literally have them both listed up there. When Matt Fowler, remember a year ago, Matt Fowler was in the same competition with Zach Banner, Chooks Okorafor, Gerald Hawkins. There wasn't a debate. I think midway, it was even like the first week of training camp, it was, Fowler's the guy. It wasn't even a talk about it anymore.
You had your eye on that a little more than me, so you would remember.
So that's why for me, I'm just like, dude, the fact that we're, game week here and we don't know who our starter is, that makes me just a little bit nervous. Because typically you want to have your starting lineup, at least going into week 1, you have that lineup ready now that it's game week.
We're throwing off the Giants.
More throwing off ourselves, man. Because now you got to think about this, right? We talk about now that it's game week, practices are a lot more condensed in terms of you don't have the luxury of all these extra snaps, all these extra plays. So your starters, you need them to get the full, for this period, you got 7 plays as a starter. You want those guys getting the full 7 plays, or do you want Chooks and Banner split? Hey, you get 4 plays, you get 3 plays. And now go out there and get prepared for Sunday or Monday in this case. Nah, I want my starter getting all 7 each time, fully prepared. That's how it goes, man. So the fact that neither one of them have been able to fully take the reins, I just have a little bit concerned, but hopefully they will nix all that concern when we see them play on Monday night. Luckily, it's the Giants they're going up against and not the Washington football team with Chase Young or something. You know what I mean? That would make me a little more nervous.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to get into the breakdown of that game coming up here. I got to look at their defense.
Yeah, man. Well, it's different too because I was like, typically I got like preseason games to go off of. I can see, okay, this guy look good. They brought this guy in. I'm over here like, oh man,
right off the bat, their defense ain't anything, right?
I haven't looked into it like that. I actually, that's what my plan is for the next like 2 days to start diving into them. But yeah, because typically I would go to the preseason. Just look
we're
at the
gonna
games.
smoke them the more I'm thinking of this. The more I think of this thing's over because their offense isn't going to do anything against our defense.
All right.
I know Danny Dimes. He's gonna have a good run, but like it's just not first game.
Cool. Whatever you say, man.
I'll look into it more. I'll look into it, see if I'm right here. But like
whatever you say, man. Whatever you say. I don't like when you start doing that because it gives me flashbacks to last year. It was a lot of that last year.
I'm saying 13-3 this year.
No, I'm just saying it was a lot of this. Oh yeah, we're gonna kill them, man. They have no answer. Our defense is gonna do this. Our offense is gonna do. Yeah, I'm just saying. All right, we not learning our lessons. That's what you telling me. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm cool with that.
I'm trying not to do that this year.
You all right? Okay. Yeah.
Right off the bat, like I said, knee-jerk reaction. We should smoke them. Okay. I'll look into it more. I'll see what they got. I'll see what they got to offer. Barkley and Jones. It's about. I mean, the receivers are still young. Come on.
Okay.
Evan Ingram's a good tight end. I will say that. Devin Bush versus Ingram. That's gonna be an interesting matchup.
It is. It definitely is.
We'll save it for next podcast. So.
Hey, we got time, man. You are funny. But man, I'm trying to think. Those were the biggest moves.
Cut Deion Kane, but he's back on the practice squad.
Like I said, Deion Kane on the practice squad. Dan McCullers was another surprise in terms of release, but he got brought back.
Yeah, I wrote
those
down.
are kind of like the big names. Derwin Gray, he's another one.
Yeah. Antoine Brooks, he's on practice squad. Though.
6th round pick.
That's probably because of the Sean Davis thing, right?
Yeah, I would definitely think that. Yeah.
Let me see. I wrote down some of the notable names. Let's see if we missed anything. Deion Kane, McCullers, Trey Edmonds, Antoine Brooks, Gray, Duck, Wendell Smallwood.
It was like the bigger names.
Carlos Davis making the roster over McCullers.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Carlos Davis, guest of the show, man. Yeah. See that anybody that talks to Deke goes out there and makes team and has success. That's what it is, bro. Cam should thank you, Deke, for you talking
the contract.
It doesn't happen if you don't talk to him.
Just me though. I mean, it's
saying, bro.
We're both on the podcast.
It's all about like the energy in the universe, bro.
Okay.
If you don't talk to him, bro, he doesn't make. Think about. Bud talked
to us. My energy wasn't that high about his contract.
But Bud talked about it. Bud had a conversation with you. Saw how it worked out for Bud. He wanted to have 10 of them things.
We got to see that after this upcoming season.
Devin Bush. Now he's taking the role as the big dog on defense.
James Washington, though, we drafted a receiver.
Yeah, but James Washington, we said Juju might be gone. James Washington's good. We said James is gonna be here. He's good to go. So who else, man?
But I think we would say
who are we missing
if we're going off a wide receiver depth chart. Juju's over James Washington this year,
as we stand right now.
Yeah. Come on, dude.
I'll talk to you off the mic about it.
Okay.
I'm not doing that on mic.
Whoa.
I'm not doing that on mic.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just multiple people out there that we've had conversations with that have been successful. Nikel Roby Coleman, man. Look at him in Philly, man. Nice deal. He's about to ball out. He's ready to go.
Donnie Shell making the Hall of Fame. Bill Cowher making the Hall of Fame.
Come on, man. You see it? If y'all haven't checked out these interviews, make sure y'all go check them out, man. We strongly encourage them, man. This is what we do.
The bus just being the bus. He's probably doing good things, right?
Come on, man. Yeah. Check out the bus, man.
I'm trying to think who else we interviewed.
John Cole.
You're right.
Legend.
Terrell Edmonds. Like if we're going to see. He had a good year. Like it wasn't a bad year.
Absolutely.
We talk about his tackles and everything.
Yeah.
But he could take his next step this year. Dangerfield, special teams captain.
Absolutely. Dangerfield was our first guest too, right?
Yeah.
First Steeler guest. That was dope.
I'm trying to think. Santonio Holmes. I don't know what he's been up to.
I think he's a head coach. I think he's coaching high school football at his hometown now, like where he's from. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's been much downside. There hasn't been a jinx. Only positives, at least.
If you want
Zach Banner on the roster.
Zach Banner competing for a starting spot. Contract, got a new deal, 1-year deal.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen if it doesn't happen on the show, bro.
You
got your nickname because of him?
Right. Benny Snow.
See,
there's good talks about him.
Benny
Lost
Snell,
some
they
weight.
say he's definitely the number 2 guy. It wouldn't surprise a lot of people if he takes over the number 1 spot at some point during the season. And that doesn't have anything to do with James Conner. James Conner could be playing
That's how
great,
good he
but
looks right
that's
now.
how Benny's looking right now. Yeah.
Are we missing anyone?
Man. Who we ain't talked to any offensive linemen, did we?
Nah.
We gotta talk some offensive linemen. We did. We got Banner.
Banner. Yeah. We already named him.
Yeah, it's got Bud, Cam.
There's no downside to coming on the podcast, it looks like.
Isn't Edmonds? Danger. Yeah. It's looking good. Washington. Yeah. Snell. I'm just saying, man. Like you said, we got 2 guys that got to the hall because they talked to us, man. Shout out to Deke. When they talk to sex symbol Deke, man, good things happen. And speaking of good things happening, now that I think about it, man, I could not get out of here before we drop this.
One more thing.
Kevin Harvick. I briefly talked about it, but ladies and gentlemen, my guy did it again, man. He was racing in Darlington, man, at the Cookout Southern 500. First race of the round of 16 races. So it's 3 races in the round of 16, then it cut to the round of 12 and so on and so on. But my man got that dub, man. So he's already advanced to the round of 12. They still have 2 more races in the round of 16, but he's already qualified.
Is he gonna take off? Is he gonna relax?
Just saying, man. Well, the thing
What's the
this?
play there?
The thing is this, man. I think that you keep the foot on the gas, man. You just, no pun intended there. You just keep doing what you're doing, man. Because this race, honestly, it wasn't a good race for him. I mean, he was, top 10, pretty much top 10, top 15 the whole race, but he didn't lead anything until like the end. He ended up leading like 32 of the 367 laps, but it was a crash on like the last like 15 laps between Martin Truex Jr. and Chase Elliott, who both of those guys had dominated. I think Truex had led. I got it wrote now. Truex led, where are we at? It was like 196 laps. Yeah, there we go. And then Chase Elliott led like 115 laps during the race. So those 2 guys were pretty much dominant the whole time, but they ended up crashing. And my man Harvick just take over, do what he does, was able to seal the deal. That's why they call him the closer there, and things like that. But ultimately, man, he's been looking good. We talked about this is 8th win of the season, 57th Cup Series win overall. I mean, and this is 3rd time winning at Darlington. I mean, he's just having one of those type of years. Everything is falling in line. When he's racing well, he's racing really well. And then even when he's doing bad, he still finds a way to get in there and make something happen, man. So I'm excited about it, man. It's going to be interesting to see how he continues this thing, especially like you said, man, because it's not like a traditional, all right, you won this game, now you got to go and win next week and so on and so on. Knowing that he has 2 more races in this round of 16 when you already have qualified, you're right from a strategy standpoint. Like, what is his mindset? Is he still that same, I gotta have it? Do you still feel that same sense of urgency?
Here's what I will say, though. If it's like I'm thinking in terms of points carrying over, it might help him to be getting first in these next 2 because it'll lock his points even higher for the next round. If that's the case.
I think you're right because they were talking about how even with Truex, how he ended up finishing like 22nd, but because the amount of laps he led, he still got a certain amount of points that were going to carry over. So you're definitely right with that.
I think the total points will carry over all the way till the final round. So I think you just want to keep winning till that final round because
Absolutely.
You could maybe win. What's this? The round of 16,
yes.
Round of 12. I don't know what the next would be. Round of 8.
Yeah.
And then what is it? Is it final 4 or is it just 8?
I'd have to look. I'm not even sure. I got to look into it
because
more, man.
Even if you perform not as well, maybe in the finals,
but because you've already dominated,
all the wins from the regular season and the playoffs will add up to where
your points are still good.
You might still win the whole thing.
I like it, man. Well, look, keep it on going, Kevin Harvick. Keep it on going, baby. I'm ready for you, baby. Let's go. Let's get it, baby. But yeah, he's still kicking butt. I just want to throw that out there, man.
I know. I saw it on your story.
I'm happy, man. I was mad. I was conflicted, because usually I come in here anytime he wins, I wear the hat. But I'm like, dude, that's my dog. Yeah. Like, I don't know Kevin. I know Cam. My Apple Watch is a Cam Heyward captain gift.
No way.
I swear. I promise you. Yes.
Oh, before the contract?
Yes. He bought me this. This would have been in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, we always say Cam got the best gifts for captains. Yeah. It's certain captains that they get gifts and then you get Cam level gifts. Cam got us all Apple Watches, man. I wear it all the time and I'm just like, you know what?
So you keep the Cam gift on there as a reminder that he got you the watch.
Way. And that's what anytime I say, like, you're my favorite captain. I've said it to him numerous times. Like, I've had captains. You're my favorite captain though. Because every time he always gets his fire stuff, man. Absolutely, man. I mean, I've worn my Uggs in here. Ben, for example, Ben got his Uggs. That was his gift. I'll tell you about the Uggs. I'm like, the Uggs are cool. My feet get a little hot though sometimes.
They're the slippers? The one?
No, the leather ones, the brown with the fur all inside of them.
Yeah, they're kind of like slippers, right?
Yeah, they look exactly like yours.
Yeah,
That's
but these are from like Walmart. Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, we call those the Debos because those the Walmart version. You're supposed to walk on the back of them, man. But either way, it's all love, man. But yeah, so shout out to Cam for the watch and shout out to Cam. You know what I mean? We got the shirt on, baby, because Cam got paid. So that's why I couldn't wear the hat because I said the hat isn't really gonna match the outfit. But it's all good though, man.
You had to go Deke mentality though to do that.
Yeah, I'm not. I ain't feeling. I ain't got that.
You don't need to match all the time. You just
that's a deep quote right there. I can't do it. I can't do it. But either way, man, it was good, man. I was hyped for him, man. And yeah, make sure y'all tune in next Saturday, man. My man gonna be getting it in again, baby. The second race of the round of 16.
I don't know. I think we got college football though. You got a rivalry now.
I'm not worried. No.
TV time.
I'm not worried about
Hail to Pitt, baby. Let's go.
Well, yeah, ACC they're playing, but see, for me, I'm like. JMU, they're not playing until the spring, so I don't have a conflict at all. And then I'm like, okay, the Big Ten, where I like to watch Michigan, I like to watch Ohio State and those teams, they're not playing right now. Pac-12 is not playing right now, unless they changed. I'm not sure if they did or not.
Come on, ACC and SEC.
I'm not watching
Big
ACC
12
football, bro. I'm definitely not watching Big 12. Yeah, Big 12.
Big 12, cool. Why not?
I don't like Big 12. It's all offense, no defense. Okay. Every game is like 60 to 65. That's
I got
cool.
Pitt though, man. And you know what?
Man, this might be Pitt's year, man.
I talked about this with the Pirates, but I'm gonna do it with Pitt. Definitely doing it with Steelers.
Don't do it.
I'm watching every pick. No, I can't do it. I can't say it.
Don't you say that, man? You're not gonna do it.
I can't say it. I'm watching the first one. I'll say that. Yeah, week by week with Pitt.
I'm cool on college football right now, man. Like if it's on, cool. But like I'm not gonna move my schedule or not watch. Like for example, if there's a basketball game on, I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I want to watch this college football game with a basketball game." Like I'm gonna watch the playoff basketball game.
I know, the only thing it takes good moments have been going on. It's been good.
The only thing that takes precedent over anything right now is NFL football. Definitely. I'll watch that over anything else. But other than that, it's NFL football, NBA, and then all right, if it's on, it's on. But NASCAR's if NASCAR race on, we checking the NASCAR race out, baby. That's how I feel about it, man.
I know.
I'm hyped though, man.
You love it, man.
I'm hyped, man. And my guy's doing good. I got a horse in this race. If I didn't have a guy, or say like my guy didn't qualify or he was struggling, different conversation. My guy's the front runner right now, man. I gotta tune in. He needs my energy. When I tune in, he wins. If I stop tuning in and he loses, now he gonna be looking at us on the podcast like, yo, Moats, man, I don't appreciate you and Deke not watching me. Now I done lost. Like, I gotta deal with it. I gotta have it on my conscience. I don't want that, baby.
Yeah. Is that all we got?
I think so, man. That was fun, man. I'm glad to be back, man. I'm glad to see you in the building, man. Oh, yeah. Shout out. We officially crossed 8,000 subscribers, too, on the YouTube channel. I can't believe
that.
Man.
I saw that, too.
Crazy. You think when we first started this thing, man?
It was what? Maybe a month or two. Yeah. Like last July, I guess. And it was like, what, 50 or 100?
Tops. I mean, we got hype. We got over 100. Well, we got 100. We did a little giveaway and everything. Yeah. Now, we're moving on, man. I like this thing, man. Continuing to keep the content coming, man. That's what we're doing, baby.
I think big things gonna be popping this NFL season.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Man. Can't wait, man. I know y'all excited. We're excited. So definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Especially tuning in while we were gone too on vacation, man. I hope y'all enjoyed those episodes.
The one someone hit me up. I apologize for the audio. I deleted the audio, but it seemed like no one really. I mean, people, you probably noticed it, but no one. There was no hate. There was no hate. So
whereas traditionally we've had somewhere you're like, yo, the mic, yo, what's this, man? Come on. So shout out to y'all for being understanding. And then shout out to Deke for bouncing back like he does, man. Because the next ones were phenomenal. So yeah, man, that's why Deke is Deke.
I'm all right, dude.
He's always chilling, but he's a sex symbol. You see the taco meat, man. So like I said, man, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate all the subscribers, man. Definitely means a lot to us. And until next time.
Peace.